Hi, I'm Rose, the Program Director for Engspire, and in this video I'm going to show you everything you need to know about the Super Engineers program. The Super Engineers program is designed to be run as a 90-minute workshop for ages 5 to 14 to introduce them to the world of engineering technology, and help them find where their place may be within it. Obviously 5 to 14 is a huge age range, so I'll also be showing some modifications along the way that will help you adapt your program to your specific age group. I'm going to start with what to do to prepare for the workshop. If you're one of our super engineers for National Engineering Month, there is a separate video which you can also check out, which will cover things like your kit, connecting with your co-facilitators, and some best practices for success. The link for that is down in the description. Taking the time to review and prepare for your session beforehand is very important to make sure that your participants are able to meet all of the learning objectives. Here are a few recommendations. Well, you're already on the right track by watching this video. This will help you understand the flow of the workshop and have a go at each of the activities and see how they work. It was provided by us, or you assembled the kit yourself from the kit list. Double check that you have everything that you need. Your complete kit should have a printed facilitator guide, a pack of engineer flashcards, optional coloring sheets, and a castle map, one per every 3 participants. Per participant, you'll also need some thick double-sided foam, cardstock, LEDs, and 3-volt button cell batteries. I'm using CR1616, but anything flat and 3 volts works just fine. Also need 6 popsicle sticks, 6 elastic bands, 1 plastic spoon, and a pom-pom. I also recommend having spare LEDs on hand in case of burnout or loss, since they're really small. The last step is to make a demo model of each activity and try out the games yourself, so that you're not just familiar with how the activities should work, but where any challenging areas may be, so that you're prepared to help your participants. And now we're ready to start the workshop. The coloring sheets in your kit are a great way to start as participants arrive and get settled, especially for younger participants. Once they've all arrived, you can begin the main activities. I find a great way to kick things off is by finding out what they already know about engineering and technology. This may include what they think engineers do, what they work on, and responses will likely include some stereotypes that we can begin to break down as we work through. The first activity is a warm-up activity, and we'll use the pack of engineer cards in your kit. Each of these cards represents a different engineer, has their name, their type of engineer, some images about what they might do, a brief description, their superpower, and some tools that they might use during their day. The way that this game works is that each participant is given one of these cards and they become that engineer. Give them a few minutes to review the card and find out more about what their engineer is all about. Next, split the room into 2 sides. One side will be yes, the other side will be no. You can then ask some questions to your participants and ask them to choose a side depending on whether they think that that's true or false for their engineer. For example, does your engineer use a computer? Would your engineer's superpower help with food production or saving lives? There are no right or wrong answers for this activity. Instead, we're trying to get them to visualize and understand the various roles that engineers and engineering technologists play in our daily lives, and that while there are many similarities, there's also a lot of differences as well, and that there may be branches that they've never heard of ever before. There are a few modifications for this activity. If working with children aged 5 to 7, skip this game and instead focus on the coloring sheets as a means to start a discussion about what engineers and engineering technologists do. With this age group, it's really important to keep descriptions short and sweet and use age-appropriate language to keep them engaged. For smaller groups or those under the age of 8, a second modification is to read out the description on a few of the cards and then get the participants to call out which engineer they would call in case of different emergencies. So now everyone's warmed up and we're ready to begin our story. We're going to be coming back to the story as we move through the various activities, as it brings together and ties all of the activities into a coherent program. Each activity is designed to take 15 to 20 minutes to complete and can be done as a group or in a round-robin format. After an epic battle, the evil genius has managed to take you and your team of super engineers captive. and is keeping you in the dungeon of a castle on a top secret island. How can you use your collective engineering skills to escape his evil clutches before he returns and feeds you all to his pet shark? First things first, it's pretty dark down here in the dungeon. We could do with some light to see if we can find a way out. You feel around in the dark and you find some light bulbs, a car battery, and some foam and plastic pieces. How can you use these items to create light to find the door? So as you may have guessed, our first activity will be stepping into the shoes of our electrical engineer superhero and building a simple flashlight to find our way out of the dungeon. This activity should be able to be completed within 15 to 20 minutes. And for this activity, each participant will need one piece of card, one thick piece of foam with double-sided tape, an LED, and a button cell battery that is 3 volts. You'll also need to provide scissors, pens, and pencils. An LED is an electrical component that when an electric current is passed through it, lights up. However, current can only pass in one direction, which means it's important to get the lights the right way around. The long leg is the positive and the short one is the negative. To create our circuit to power our flashlight, we're simply touching our long leg to the positive side of our battery and pressing the legs together. If you put it the wrong way around, the circuit won't be able to function correctly and there won't be any light. So this circuit works really well, but this is kind of hard to hold and really needs a switch. And that's where our foam and our card come in. So for this activity, we're going to start by putting our LED with one leg on either side of the foam, just like this. And then we're able to position our battery so that it will be roughly within the middle of the legs. I'm just going to mark on where the circle is. And now I'm going to cut this out. Going in from the side is perfectly okay because you won't be able to see this hole afterwards. Now we have our foam with a hole that should fit this battery in just fine. The hole doesn't need to be perfect because it's not going to be seen. Again, we're going to double check that our LED is facing the right direction. And when we press that together, that's going to work just perfect. Our final part of our flashlight is to cut a piece of card in half. We can then peel off the sticky backing from so that everything is in position. Stick that down, just like that. So you end up with your circuit sandwiched between your card, and when you press in the spot, it flashes. Success! Now we can see around the dungeon and discover that there's a single door at one end, and it's not even locked. You're about to rush out when you get a funny feeling something's not right. Next to the door you see what looks like a map of the castle showing the way out. The only problem is that also on the map are some symbols showing obstacles which will definitely cause you to be caught or worse. Before setting off, you decide to figure out your route to make sure that your whole team stays safe, and also decide that the instructions should be written in code just in case one of you is captured. This activity works just like a game and is where we call up our software engineer to help. If you're working with the youngest age group of 5 to 7, you can skip this activity altogether and move on to the final activity. So in our story, we found a map on the wall, just like this one. On this sheet, you can see that we're starting down here in the dungeons and we're trying to get all the way up to the top to safety out of the castle up here. The skull and crossbones represents any squares that we are not able to enter under threat of certain death. These also represent holes. If we fall down a hole, we're certain to be captured. The aim is to get safely through our little maze by creating a set of instructions for each step to take along the way. To make sure we get out safely, since the map is attached to the wall, we've decided to create some instructions. Also, we've decided to put these in code just in case one of our team members gets captured along the way. The code we decided to use was F with a number in brackets to represent steps forward. The number in the bracket will represent the number of steps. For example, F bracket 2 would be take 2 steps forward. R will represent turning 90 degrees to the right. L, 90 degrees to the left. Finally, J will represent jumping over 1 square. Participants should be split into groups of 3 to 4 people and given a copy of the map. They'll have just 10 minutes to create a code to get them to safety. A fun way to test the group's code is to set up a full-scale obstacle course using chairs to represent the crosses and sheets of paper to represent the holes. You can also set up a course using anything that you have to hand, such as ropes, coats, bags, or you can just test using the paper sheet. Have an adult follow the group's code to see if they can make it all the way through to safety without walking into a wall of spikes or falling to their death. If time allows, any groups that fail can review and edit their code to debug and see if they can correct their error before rerunning through. You race out of the cellar and escape from the castle, only to find yourself looking out over an ocean. The lair is on an island. Off to one side, you can see some land. You're just about to jump in and swim to safety when you see a fin sticking up out of the water. Sharks. If you go in the water, you're sure to be dinner. That means we're going to have to go over. Strewn across the beach, you find some driftwood and old ropes. How can you use this to get to safety before the evil genius discovers your escape? The final activity will focus on mechanical engineers to build a simple catapult that will launch you off the island over the shark-infested waters and to safety. For this activity, each participant will need 6 popsicle sticks, 1 plastic spoon, 6 elastic bands, and a pom-pom. The flying motion in this activity comes from adding potential energy to the top popsicle stick when we pull it down. This is transferred to kinetic energy in the pom-pom when we release the stick and it springs back to its natural position. Okay, so to build the catapult, first participants should take 4 of their popsicle sticks and tie an elastic band on either end to secure them together. Next, they can take the other 2 popsicle sticks and put 1 elastic band approximately in the middle, just like that. Next, they're going to slide their 4 popsicle sticks in between the 2 popsicle sticks and tie down that end with another elastic band. That will cause the catapult shape to come together. Finally, our lunch pad. We're going to secure the plastic spoon to the top of the popsicle stick using another elastic band. And you may want to put on 2 just for security. And that's it. We have our catapult ready to go. Our pom-pom is going to represent our team member who can sit into our launch pad and off they go. For testing, set up 2 lines, approximately half a meter from each other. The first will be our launch site on the island. The second will be safety. In between will be the shark-infested waters that we want to try and avoid. Participants can adjust the angle of their catapult by moving the middle sticks up and down to raise or lower the launch pad. In this activity, there are a few different ways that catapults can be made. If a participant wants to try out a different method or a different idea to get all of their members to safety, encourage them to try out their idea and see what happens. And that concludes all of the hands-on activities. In the last few minutes of the workshop, it's important to review what was learned during the session. A great place to start is with a temperature check of who made it to safety, what challenges did they encounter along the way, and how did they overcome. Some of the key learning objectives that we're looking for are: it's okay to fail so long as you try again, and that's a key part of engineering. Teamwork is very important. Just like our superhero team, engineers and technologists often work together with people with different skills. Communicating and being able to work with those people is really important to be able to complete projects. Engineers and technologists have similar skills, but they don't all do the same thing. Having a diverse set of skills and interests is really important to build the engineering profession. I hope you have fun leading this program with your group. We'd love to hear your feedback and comments on how it goes. Links to our website with the full facilitator guide, which is free to download, as well as information on our program kits, and of course our crests, are below. And finally, thank you for helping us inspire our next generation of change makers.